Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vishali Kikan and we are discussing VLSI technology. In that we are discussing ion implantation, and today in this video we are going to discuss about the hardware for this ion implantation process. We are going to discuss all kind of equipments required for this process, and for that the basic requirement is that you should understand what is ion implantation and why it is required. Okay, if you have still not watched the previous videos, it is highly recommended that you go and watch the previous videos also, then come to this video, because today in this video we are just focusing upon the equipments. We will not discuss in detail about the process. Okay, so what kind of equipments that we are going to discuss? We are focusing upon the four types of hardware. First is gas system, electrical system, then vacuum system, then ion beam line. All of them we are going to discuss in great detail. So first of all, the implantation process. In the implantation process we have various gases and vapors. Which gases and vapors we are taking? We are taking the gases and vapors of the dopants like the phosphorus, boron, arsenic, or I can say I am taking some compound from which I am taking the dopant like BF3, PH3, ASH3. All of them are giving me the dopants. Then I have this wafer, and the wafer is coming inside the implanter. The gases are coming inside the implanter. Okay, so we can select any ion like boron, phosphorus or arsenic. We can send anyone based upon our requirement. Like if I want P type of doped region, then I want the boron. If I want N type of doped region, then I can use the phosphorus or the arsenic. Then I can select the ion energy, then I can select the beam current. Both of them will be deciding the doped region, its depth, its concentration. All of them can be defined with the help of ion energy and the beam current. Okay, so this is how I have the implanter. In the implanter, the ion implantation process will be happening, and these are the inputs. The output we will be having as the doped chip, which we are sending to the next step. So this is the ion implanter. Okay, so actually it is the ion beam line, and this actually represents all of the basic components. So I have chosen this to represent all of the basic components required for the ion implanter. Okay, so here we have the ion source. So the ion source is getting some ions like whatever ions that I can use, that I have already given in the previous step. In the previous slide I have already shown you that on the requirement of the type of doped region, P type or N type, I can choose any ion. So we will be having a gas cabin. In the gas cabin we are having some electrical system. With the help of electrical system we are supplying the high electrical power over here. Okay, so now the gas cabin is providing some gases, and with the help of gases we are supplying the high electrical energy to the gases, and which is making the ions. Okay, so now here these ions are sent through this pipe, and this pipe is actually the tube which is connecting the ion source to the wafers. Okay, and on the wafer I want to do the ion implantation process, and here we will be having the vacuum pump to create the vacuum, so that the ions are very reactive. No, ions are composed of electrons and the positively charged particles. So now when both of them are combined going here, they can react with any of the particle present. So for avoiding this possibility, I am using the vacuum pump over here. Okay, so the ion is coming from this path, and here we have the analyzer magnet. The analyzer magnet is rotating the path of the ions, because if I have ions which are moving, which is making the current. Okay, so I can change the direction of the current with the help of magnets. The magnetic field will be changing the direction of the current, and the moving ions will be treated like the current. So this is the role of the analyzer magnet. Then this is the beam line. Okay, so this is why I told you I am representing the beam line. Okay, here we have the electrical system again. Okay, electrical system will be increasing the acceleration of the ions which are present here. I will be discussing about all of these things in detail. Okay, so here again we have the vacuum pump, and there we have the plasma flooding system which is creating the plasma over here. Okay, so what is the need of plasma we will be seeing when we will be discussing about the beamline system. Okay, so here we have the wafers are placed here, and here we have the beam of ions which is going on the wafer, and now this beam is highly directional with all of the things that we have used here, and this highly directional beam will be going on the wafer, and they will be making the doped region in the particular area, and this is the AND analyzer. Okay, so I hope now you understood the basic ion implanter. Now coming to the gas system. In the gas system, as the name suggests, we are using all of the gases. So we have the special gas deliver system to handle the hazardous gases. Because it's a gas system, we will be having a lot of gases involved here. So if there is some hazardous gas, and if it get leaked out, so it will be causing a lot of damage. So to avoid that, a special training is needed to change the gases bottles, so that there will be no leakage problem while changing the gas bottles. Argon is used for the purge and the beam calibration in the gas system. Now coming to the electrical system. In the electrical system, as the name suggests, we have the high electricity. It is the high voltage system. The high voltage determines the ion energy that controls the junction depth. If I have high ion energy, which means I will be having higher junction depth. So it will be determining the current magnitude as well. So if I want to change the current magnitude, I will be using the RF power. So here I will be having the RF system. The RF system will be used to generate the ions, and this RF system will be changing its value, and when I am changing the value of the power, the current's value will be changing, and in outcome what is changing, the doped region is changing. So RF knob I can change, and I can change the doped region. Okay, I hope now you understood it. Now coming to the vacuum system. In the vacuum system, we require high vacuum to accelerate the ions and also to reduce the collision. I have already told you that if we are using the ions can react with a lot of surrounding gases and a lot of particles. To avoid this possibility, we have to use the vacuum. So if I have the higher mean free path, so then I can use the vacuum system. So to create this higher mean free path, which means the mean free path is much greater than the beamline length, to make that possible, so that two ions will not be colliding with each other. I hope you remember what is mean free path. Mean free path means the possibility of two ions for colliding themselves. So if the mean free path is greater than the beamline length, which means in the beamline the two particles or the two ions are not colliding, they are going straight. That is what we want. So I want higher mean free path. For that also I require vacuum. I require lower pressure around 10 raised to power minus 5 to 10 raised to power minus 7 torr. For that I will be using two pumps, turbo pump and the cryo pump. Okay, both of them I will be using. And then we have a special exhaust system to exhaust out the dangerous gases. Now coming to the control system. So what is the part which is called the control system? We have the ion energy, beam current and the ion species. So all of them must be controlled. We have some mechanical parts for loading and unloading of the wafer. So we will be having the wafer movement which should be uniform. So if one wafer is coming, after the same time another wafer should come, and then after the same time another wafer should come. So wafer movement should be uniform to get the uniform beam scan. So then how I control this mechanical system? With the help of some computers, I control this mechanical system, which is called the CPU board system. Okay, so control board collect data from the system, then it sends to the CPU, and this is how it is a feedback system. It takes the feedback. If the system is not having any wafer inside, then it will be pushing another wafer. Okay, so it is a feedback system. The control board collect the data and it sends to the CPU board, and CPU then sends the instruction that what it has to do next. So I hope now you understood the control system. Now the beam line. In the beam line we have actually all of them. So we have ion source, we have extraction electrode, analyzer magnet, post acceleration, plasma flooding system and analyzer. So all of them are present. We will be talking about all of them in detail. So I hope you remember this diagram. I have shown you this diagram in the very beginning of this lecture. So first of all, coming to the ion source. Ion source is the hot tungsten filament that emits thermal electrons. Okay, so when I have high energy electrons, electrons will be colliding with the source gas molecules and they will be ionizing the source gas. That is what we want, what we had in the source gas. Like let's suppose we have BH3. So I want to ionize the BH3. So what I will be doing, I will be having high ion energy electrons. These high energy electrons will be hitting this BH3 and they will be ionizing. They will be dissociating this BH3 and then they will be ionizing. So ions are extracted out of the source chamber and they are accelerated towards the beam line. How they are accelerated? With the help of some electric field. We apply some electric field to these ions. This is why acceleration is created in them. So we are using RF and microwave power to generate this electricity, and this electricity further it can again be used for the ionization. So two things we are doing. First, we are using the electrons to ionize BH3 or any other source gas, or second, we are using the electricity or RF power. When the RF power, these ions are moving downside this RF power will again dissociate them. So the atoms which are like left without any dissociation, that dissociate when they are passed through the RF or the microwave power knob. Okay, so now here this is how the ion source is looking like. Here we have the filament power which is 0 to 5 volt and it goes up to 200 ampere current. Okay, so this is the current that we are giving. So this is the arc power is around 120 volt. Okay, so here we are using this tungsten filament to generate the electrons. So this is the source gas like BH3, PF3, whatever that source that we want. I am sending the source from here. Then this is my anti-cathode and these are my anodes. Okay, so here we are using some magnets to change the direction. So this is how we are producing the ions, and this is the plasma over here. I hope you remember what is plasma. Okay, now coming to the RF ion source. So you can see here this RF energy is passed to this plasma. So when we have high RF energy, the plasma will contain more and more ions and there will be some acceleration provided to these ions as well. So I hope now you understood it. So this is my extraction electrode. Due to this RF voltage, I am supplying the acceleration to these ions. So these accelerated ions will pass through this extraction electrode and this is called the beam line. So now coming to the microwave ion source. So here we are using the microwaves to generate the ions. So here we are using some magnetic coils also, due to which we have these magnetic field lines. And now this is my ECR plasma. ECR plasma is actually the plasma that we have generated at the low pressure values. So because we have low pressure values, it is very hard to generate the plasma. For that we are using the magnetic coils over here. Okay, so again here Because of this microwave, we will be having the ions generated, and these ions will be having some acceleration. So these ions are extracted from this extraction electrode. Now coming to the extraction. The extraction electrode accelerate ions up to 50 kilo electron volt power. So here you can see this is a very high power. So a very high energy is required for analyzer magnet to select the right ion species. Okay, so it need to select which ions should go and hit the particular wafer surface. So for that I require some high energy. So now coming to the extraction assembly. So you can see here we have the power which is around 60 kilovolt. So here we have this power is the extraction power. Here we have the suppression power also. So now in the plasma we are generating the ions, and due to these electrodes and due to the power some acceleration is generated, and due to which it is going from the extraction electrode. It is the same thing that we have discussed previously. Now coming to the analyzer magnet. So now all of these particles, the ions are having charges. These particles can be changed in the direction with the help of the magnetic field. So we will be having some gyro radius of the charged particle in the magnetic field. I have already talked about the gyro radius when I was discussing about the plasma. If you want to discuss that in detail, go to the video where I was discussing about the plasma introduction video. So gyro radius of the particle will change if I use the magnetic field. So now here the magnetic field will be changing the path depending upon the mass to charge ratio. Okay, so if I have two particles, an ion which is of high mass and an electron which is of less mass, so the deflection will be very high in the electron than the ion if I have the same magnetic field. So that you should know. It is used for the isotopes for separation to get the enriched uranium-235. I hope you know the uranium-235 is used to make the nuclear bombs, and how we separate the uranium-235. Uranium-235 can only be used to make the nuclear bomb. But actually in practical we have various isotopes of uranium, uranium-235, uranium-238 and many more, which are combined. They combined are present in the atmosphere. Now what we need to do to make the nuclear bomb, we need to enrich the uranium-235. And how we enrich the uranium-235? With the help of specific mass to charge ratio. So uranium-238 is heavier. It will be having different deflection than the uranium-235 when it is present in the same magnetic field. Okay, so I hope you understood how we are making the enriched uranium-235, which can be used to make the nuclear bombs. Okay, so I hope now you understood it. It can be used to make the nuclear energy as well. So everything is having its positives as well as negatives. If you focus upon the positives, you are going to become a big name, and you are going to contribute a lot in the world. So you can use the enriched uranium-235 to make the nuclear fuel as well. So if I have the right mass to charge ratio, then only I will be having some slit. So you can have various deflections. One deflection is going here, one deflection is going here, one deflection is coming here. I can place my slit on the particular deflection position, and this is how I can separate the different charges. And this is how, if I have various charges present, I cannot have just the boron charges. If I have like pH3, I have phosphorus charges, then I have hydrogen charges as well. Okay, so hydrogen ion, phosphorus ions I have to separate, because what I want to send to the wafer, I just want to send the phosphorus ion to the wafer. And how I am sending that? I will be sending that with the help of use of analyzer magnet. So I hope now you don't have any doubt in the use of analyzer magnet. So you can see it here. If I have larger mass to charge ratio, it will be deflecting less, and if I have lower mass to charge ratio, it will be deflecting more. The right mass to charge ratio will be going through the slit, and this is how I will be getting the perfect beamline with the perfect charges that we want. So the ions in the BF3 and their atomic molecular weight. So you can see we have various borons isotopes as well. We have 10 boron which is having the molecular weight 10, 11 boron which is having the molecular weight 11, 10 BF it's used to generate the molecular weight compound 29. So BF with boron 11 is having the molecular weight 30, F2 is having the molecular weight 38, 10 BF2 is having the molecular weight 48 and 11 BF2 is having the molecular weight 49. So if all of them are present as the ions, I can separate the 10B and the 11B with the help of the analyzer magnets. So now coming to the question, the 10B positive ion is a lighter ion and can penetrate deeper inside the substrate than 11B positive ion. Then why don't we use 10B positive ion in the deep junction implantation? So because only 20% of boron which is existing as the 10B. So it is a rare atom. When it is rare, it is having the more cost. So 10B plus concentration is only 1/4 of the 11B plus concentration, and it is very difficult to separate them. So 10B plus beam current is around 1/4 of 11B plus beam current. So what I require 4 times of beam current, or I require 4 times of implantation time, which reduces the throughput. Okay, now coming to the post acceleration. Now I have ions which are moving towards the wafer, but I require high energy ions. For that I am supplying some energy to these ions. And how I am supplying the energy? With the help of some DC voltage. So we are increasing ion energy for ion to reach the required junction depth inside the wafer for the determined device. Okay, so electrodes with high DC voltages are used to provide the high electricity and high DC bias. The higher the DC bias, more ion energy will be having with the ions. We use the adjustable vertical vanes which controls the beam current as well. So now coming to the plasma flooding system. Why we use the plasma flooding system? So ions can cause the wafer charging. So if I have used the ions, if I am using the B plus ions, the B plus ions will be charging the wafers into positively charged wafer. That I don't want. Wafer charging can cause non-uniform doping, as well as it will be causing the arcing defects. So electrons are flooding into the ion beam and they are neutralize the charge on the wafer. So with the help of the plasma, we are neutralizing the charge so that only boron will go and they will be accumulated inside the wafer as the doped region. The argon plasma generated by the thermal electrons emit from the hot tungsten filament, and this is why we are using the hot tungsten filament to use the plasma, and which the hot tungsten filament is generating the plasma which we can use to neutralize the charge. So now coming to the post acceleration, again we have a suppression electrode and we have the acceleration electrode. Here we have the reverse. The suppression electrode is present first, then we have the acceleration electrode. You can see we have the acceleration electrode with the higher power. Okay, and the suppression electrode power is less. The ion beam current control, you can see we are using the different apertures. So you can see here, if I want more current, I will be using this aperture so that more of beam will be passing through. If I am using this aperture, which means I am restricting the ion beam, so only this beam is passing, which is restricted with the help of this slit. So this is called the adjustable vertical vanes. Okay, and this is the fixed defining aperture. In between these fixed defining aperture only I am adjusting these vanes so that I will be getting the adjusted current as the ion beam. Now coming to the bending of the ion trajectory, as I have already told you, we are using the analyzer magnets to bend the ion beam, and this is how these ion beams are reaching to the wafer and they are making the wafer doped. Now coming to the charge neutralization system, we have the implanted ions which are going inside the wafer, which will be making the wafer positively charged, and it will be causing the wafer charging effect. It expels the positive ion and it causes the beam blow up, and also it results into the non-uniform dopant distribution. So we should have a discharge mechanism, which means we should have some mechanism by which we are making these ions into some uncharged particles. Okay, so discharge arcing effect will create the defects also on the wafer. So we are using the breakdown of the great oxide, which will be giving me lower yield. So I need to neutralize these charge. We need to eliminate or minimize the charging effect. So you can see this is the ions which are coming, which is making the wafer positively charged. This is the charging effect. So in the charge neutralization system, we are having the plasma flooding system, we are having the electron gun, and this is how we are having the electron showers which are used to neutralize the charge systems. So we have the positive charge. Positive charge can be neutralized only with the help of electrons, and these electrons are coming from the tungsten filament, and these electrons are neutralizing the charge. So now coming to the plasma flooding system. So you can see here, now this is the ion beam. The plasma is flooded over here to neutralize the charge. So here you can see I am using the tungsten filament and the DC power. The high DC power and the high filament current will be making this plasma, and this plasma will be neutralizing the charges in the ion beam. Now coming to the electron gun. Okay, so here we have the electron target. So these are the electrons which are coming and neutralizing the charges. So here this is the ion beam. So this is how our ion beam is moving, and here we are sending the electrons in the vertical direction, and the electrons get reflected from this surface, from this target, and here we are getting the secondary electrons which are generated after the reflection. So this is my thermal filament, and this is how I will be getting the neutral particles which are going to the wafer. Now coming to the wafer handling. So here I am using the diameter which is around 25 mm, and now if I am using the diameter of the ion beam around 25 mm, the wafer diameter is around 200 mm, which means it is around 8 times larger. So we need to move to a beam which is even lesser than this, okay, to make the smaller and smaller feature size. So we need to move beam or wafer or both of them also. Okay, so if I have the beam here, I want the doped region here. Okay, so below the beam I will be having the doped region. Then I move the wafer, I will be having doped region here. Then I move the wafer, I will be having doped region here. I can move both of them also, or I can move the beam also. Okay, so it depends upon the type of implanter. So now if I can do the spinning of the wheel, I can do the spinning of the disc, I can use the single wafer scan also. So all of them can be used. So you can see this is the spin wheel system. Here I am spinning the wheel. So here this is the implanted strip that we have, and this is the ion beam that we have. Okay, so this is how I am implanting a strip over the wafer. So if I want a full strip over the wafer, I can simply use the spin wheel. It is having the 2400 rotation revolution per minute spin rate. Okay, and the swing period is around 10 seconds. Okay, so this is the spin arms that we have, and this is how we are placing the wafers. And I hope now you understood how we are generating this implanted strip with the help of spin wheel. Then we have spin disc. Okay, in the spin disc, this is the disc that is rotating. Okay, and here we are having the wafers. So this is how we are having the ions. So ion beam is coming only at this point. When this is rotating, then this wafer will come below this ion beam line, and at a later instant of time this wafer will come below this ion beam line. And this is how all of the wafers are coming below the ion beam line, and we are generating the doped region in all of these cases. Now coming to the single wafer scanning system. In the single wafer scanning system, we are using only the wafer movement. We are changing the position of the wafer in respect to the slit, and we are getting the doped region in the desired direction. Okay, so now coming to the beam stop. How we stop the beam? So the wafer absorb the ion beam energy, and now we are using some detector also. So I will be having some detector based on the beam current, beam energy, and beam shape measurements as well. So we will be using some water cooled metal plate which carries away the heat and blocks the X-ray radiations as well. Okay, so now coming to the AND analyzer. So it is the Faraday's charge detector. It is used to calibrate the beam current, energy and the profile as well. So this is the use of the AND analyzer. If there is any problem related to the charge or the beam current or energy or in profile of the doping region, I will get to know with the help of AND analyzer. So now you can see the structure of the beam stop. So this is the top view. Here you can see we have the Faraday current detector. So this is the ion beam which is coming here, and we are using the graphite, which is the water cooled base plate here. Okay, so this is the base plate over which we have the graphite. This is the beam stop. I don't want this beam to be penetrating outside in the outside world, because this beam can cause the damage in the outside world. So I need a beam stopper for that. So in the process, we want to discuss about the CMOS application, CMOS ion implantation requirement and the implantation process evaluations. I am going to discuss about the evaluations in the next video. So these are the requirements. This is how I can have various steps. I can make the N-well, and I can make the anti punch through, and I can make the P-well as well. So I can change all of the parameters related to the N-well and the P-well. So you can see this is the implantation process. If I am having high energy in the mega electron volts but low current, then we have well implantation. Okay, so we have the threshold voltage implantation when we have the low energy and the low current. Okay, that in that case we will be implanting the doped region for the threshold voltage adjustment. Then we can have the lightly doped drain formation with the use of low energy and low current beam. Okay, 10 kilo electron volt and low current, which is around 10 raised to power 13 per centimeter square. Okay, so if I want to dope the source and drain, so for the source and drain doping, I am using the low energy 20 kilo electron volt and high current, which is greater than 10 raised to power 15 per centimeter square. Okay, so this current and this energy will implant the source and drain. So these are the references. I hope you understood each and everything that I have discussed. If you still have any doubt about anything, you can refer these books or you can put the doubt in the comment. I will be trying to resolve your doubt as soon as possible. I hope you like this session. If you like it, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel and also share it with your friends. Thank you so much.